Before YouTube was a business, it was a playground. It was a wild, messy place where anyone could upload anything. In that chaos, some channels felt like a secret you discovered. trippp335 was one of those secrets. It appeared out of nowhere, no big announcement, no marketing plan, just a video, then another. The name itself, trippp335, felt like a glitch, a random string of characters you'd find on a forgotten hard drive. It was mysterious, it was anonymous, and in a world where everyone was trying to become a personality, this channel was just a presence. It was a digital ghost in the machine, and we were all captivated by its haunting, simple creations. The creator behind trippp335 was never the point. He barely showed his face. We never heard his normal voice, just loud sounds and music. This wasn't about building a personal brand, it was about building a small community. Each video was a small window into a place that felt familiar but strange. Think of old VHS tapes found in an attic, or a dream you can't quite remember after you wake up. The channel captured a feeling more than just content. It was the feeling of late-night drives through empty city streets, the feeling of nostalgia for a time you never actually lived through. This intentional mystery made you lean in closer. Who was making this? Why? The questions were part of the experience. This anonymity was a powerful tool. It made the content feel more authentic. It wasn't an influencer trying to sell you something, it was art for art's sake, or at least that's what it felt like. The channel was a blank canvas. Viewers could project their own ideas onto it. Every comment section was a mix of theories. Was it a film student, a collective of artists, or just a kid? A lonely person broadcasting their feelings to the void. This lack of a central figure made the community the star. People weren't just watching videos, they were participating in a shared mystery, trying to piece together a puzzle that had no clear solution. It was a phenomenon born from pure digital curiosity. In the early days of the internet, this kind of mystery was everywhere. It was part of the culture. trippp335 had a cool and understanding vibe. It was a throwback to a time before everything was polished and optimized for algorithms. The channel felt human, even without showing a human. It was full of imperfections. The editing was choppy, the sound was raw, but those flaws were what made it beautiful. They made it feel real. In an ocean of slick, overproduced content, trippp335 was a gritty, unfiltered signal. It was a reminder that you don't need a fancy studio or a big budget. All you need is an idea and a willingness to hit upload. So how does a channel like this even get started? It doesn't happen with a big launch. It happens with a spark. trippp335's first videos were barely noticed. They were quiet experiments. Short clips, usually under a minute long, showing mundane things in a new light. A flickering street lamp, rain hitting a car windshield, an empty subway car rattling through a tunnel. There was no dialogue, just atmospheric music and carefully chosen sounds. For months, the view counts were low, dozens, maybe hundreds. But the people who found it stayed. They were the first followers, the ones who saw something special in the noise. The breakthrough moment came from a video titled 03, 17 a.m. It was a simple concept, a 3-minute, one-take shot from a car dashboard, driving through a deserted city. The only light came from traffic signals and glowing storefronts. A lo-fi electronic track played in the background. It wasn't exciting, it wasn't a prank or a challenge, but it was incredibly hypnotic. Someone, somewhere, shared it on a forum. An online community dedicated to liminal spaces or vaporwave aesthetics, that's all it took. The video started to get traction. People were drawn to its calming, almost meditative quality. It was content you could just vibe with. This one video opened the floodgates. The algorithm, in its mysterious way, started recommending 03, 17 a.m. to more people. Viewers who watched it would then dive into the channel's back catalog. They found a collection of similar videos, all with the same strange, lonely beauty. The audience wasn't mainstream, not at first. It was a niche group of people who appreciated this specific aesthetic. It was for the night owls, the introverts, the creatives. The channel gave them a space that felt like their own. It wasn't shouting for attention, it was whispering, and people were leaning in to listen. The growth wasn't explosive like a viral dance trend, it was a slow, steady burn. Each new video brought in another wave of dedicated fans. The comment section became a place of community. People shared stories about why the videos resonated with them. They talked about feelings of isolation, nostalgia, and peace. trippp335 wasn't just making videos, it was creating a mood, it was curating an experience. The channel proved that you don't need to follow the trends to build an audience. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is create something deeply personal and wait for the right people to find it. What was the secret sauce? Why did this channel, with its simple, repetitive style, become so compelling? It was a combination of things, a perfect recipe of style, sound, and substance. First, the visual style was unmistakable. Every video was shot with a low-fidelity camera. It looked like it was filmed on an old camcorder from the 90s. The colors were washed out, the image was grainy. This wasn't a mistake, it was a deliberate choice. This style created a powerful sense of nostalgia. It made the footage feel like a memory, even if you were watching it for the first time. It was a visual language that spoke directly to the heart. Then there was the sound design. Sound was just as important as the visuals, maybe even more so. trippp335 didn't use popular music. Instead, the creator used obscure atmospheric tracks, lo-fi hip-hop beats, ambient soundscapes, and synth-heavy vaporwave. The music was always perfectly matched to the mood of the video. It wasn't just background noise, it was the emotional core. On top of the music, there were layers of ambient sound, the hum of a refrigerator, the distant wail of a siren, the gentle crackle of static. These sounds made the world of the video feel real and immersive. You weren't just watching a scene, you were in it. The themes of the videos were also a huge part of the appeal. trippp335 explored feelings that are hard to put into words. Loneliness, the strange beauty of empty spaces, the bittersweet feeling of looking back at the past. The videos were often set in places that felt transitional or in between: empty airports, laundromats at midnight, vacant shopping malls. These are known as liminal spaces, and they evoke a powerful, unsettling feeling. The channel tapped into this feeling better than anyone else. It gave a name and a face to an emotion that many people felt but couldn't explain. It made them feel understood. Finally, the consistency was key. You always knew what you were going to get with a trippp335 video. The quality was consistent, the mood was consistent, the style was consistent. This reliability built trust with the audience. In a chaotic online world, the channel was a predictable comfort. It was a place you could go to escape and relax. The creator understood their brand perfectly and never strayed from it. This disciplined approach is what turned a cool idea into a powerful, recognizable channel. It wasn't about chasing trends, it was about mastering a unique craft and delivering it over and over again. Every creator dreams of going viral. For trippp335, it happened in a few key moments that pushed the channel from a niche secret to a mainstream phenomenon. The first big wave was Mallsoft Memories, a 10-minute video that was a slow, gliding tour of a completely abandoned shopping mall. The camera floated through empty food courts and down silent escalators. The only sound was a distant, echoing 80s pop song, distorted as if being played over the mall's old speaker system. The video was eerie, beautiful, and deeply sad. It hit a nerve with millions of people who grew up hanging out in malls, a cultural icon that was now fading away. That video was a game changer. It was shared by major news outlets and blogs. Suddenly, everyone was talking about trippp335. The subscriber count skyrocketed. People who had never heard of vaporwave or liminal spaces were now fans. This moment pushed the channel beyond its original niche audience. The comment section exploded with people sharing their own memories of malls from their childhood. The video became a digital monument to a lost piece of Americana. It showed the power of tapping into a shared cultural experience. It wasn't just a cool video, it was a time capsule. Another defining moment was a series called Static Dreams. This was a collection of much shorter, more abstract videos. They were like visual poems. Each one was under 30 seconds. They featured things like TV static, glitching video game graphics, and close-ups of old computer monitors. They were weird and experimental. One of them, a clip of a flickering no-signal message on an old TV screen set to a haunting piano loop, became a massive meme. People started using the audio in their own videos on other platforms. It was a strange kind of fame. The channel's aesthetic was being absorbed into the wider internet culture. These viral moments were never planned. They felt organic. They happened because the creator made something so unique that people felt compelled to share it. It wasn't about clickbait titles or manipulative thumbnails, it was about the raw power of the content itself. The success of Mallsoft Memories and Static Dreams cemented trippp335's reputation as a true original. The channel was setting the trends, not following them. These moments were the peak of its influence, a time when a mysterious, faceless creator was one of the most talked about artists on the entire platform. It was a testament to the idea that pure creativity could still win. At its peak, trippp335 was, honestly, more than just a YouTube channel. It was a cultural touchstone. Hitting 1 million subscribers was a huge milestone, especially for a channel that never showed a face or spoke a word. This wasn't a number bought by loud personalities or cheap stunts. It was earned through pure artistic vision. The channel was a destination. People didn't just stumble upon it anymore, they actually sought it out. They would wait for the next upload with genuine anticipation. The name trippp335 became, well, synonymous with a whole genre of art. If you wanted that lo-fi, nostalgic, melancholic vibe, you went to the source. The community around the channel was incredibly strong and positive. The comment sections weren't filled with the usual internet toxicity. Instead, they were places for thoughtful reflection. People shared personal stories, wrote poetry inspired by the videos, and recommended similar music and art. It felt like a secret club that had suddenly become very popular, but the original members were still there, welcoming the newcomers. The creator fostered this by staying completely silent. By not engaging, they allowed the community to define itself. The channel became a canvas, and the audience painted their own meanings onto it. The influence of trippp335 started to appear everywhere. You could see its visual style in music videos from major artists. You could hear its sound in commercials for big brands. Other YouTubers started to imitate the grainy VHS look. The trippp335 aesthetic became a shorthand for a certain kind of cool. For the creator, this must have been a strange experience, to be so influential yet so anonymous. The channel never monetized with traditional ads. It never sold merchandise. This refusal to sell out only enhanced its credibility. It was pure. It was about the art and nothing else. This period from roughly 2021 to 2023 was the golden age. Every video would instantly get hundreds of thousands of views. The formula was perfected. The audience was loyal. The channel was at the top of its game, a king in its own beautifully crafted, lonely kingdom. It felt like it could go on forever. It was a perfect, self-sustaining ecosystem of creation and appreciation. From the top of that mountain, the view was, honestly, incredible. But as anyone who has ever climbed a mountain knows, the only way to go from the peak is down. And the descent for trippp335 was slow, subtle, and heartbreaking for the fans who had come along for the ride. Nothing gold can stay. And for trippp335, the shimmer was slipping away. The first sign of trouble wasn't a scandal or a sudden collapse. It was a creeping sense of unease, an unspoken fear that something precious was slipping through our fingers. Repetition set in, quietly suffocating the spark that once made every upload feel electric. Consistency, once the channel's greatest strength, began to feel like a cage. The magic was fading, replaced by a dull ache of sameness. The formula that once thrilled us now felt tired, predictable, almost hollow. Another empty hallway, another lo-fi beat, another grainy filter. The sense of wonder was slipping away, replaced by a haunting familiarity. The videos remained beautiful, but the thrill of discovery was gone. We felt it, a quiet, aching loss. We knew what was coming, the surprise, the mystery, the anticipation, gone. The core of the experience, mystery, had faded into the background, leaving only echoes. The ghost in the machine was no longer haunting, it was just there. And then, the imitators arrived, dozens, then hundreds. trippp335's influence was undeniable. Suddenly, the internet was flooded with echoes, imitations, some shallow, some inspired. They mimicked the VHS haze, the ambient soundscapes, the obsession with liminal spaces, trying to capture a feeling that was already slipping away. Some were cheap knockoffs, but others were genuinely talented, threatening to outshine the original. They twisted the formula, made it their own, and left trippp335's audience torn between nostalgia and curiosity. New ideas blossomed everywhere, except, it seemed, on the channel that started it all. The unique style that once set trippp335 apart was now just another face in the crowd. The internet overflowed with lookalikes, drowning out the original's voice. What was once a beacon became a whisper, lost in a sea of static and imitation. The creator felt it too, a growing sense of isolation, of being trapped by their own creation. How do you evolve when your entire identity is built on a single, perfect thing? The uncertainty was suffocating. There were attempts, hesitant, uncertain, to change. a tweak in editing here, a new style of music there. But these changes felt awkward, even desperate, like a plea for help that went unanswered. The spirit of the channel was lost in the struggle. The audience fractured, loyalty turning to disappointment. Some clung to the past, desperate for things to stay the same. Others drifted away, bored and restless, searching for something new. The creator was caught in an impossible bind. Every path forward led to disappointment. Success became a prison, the weight of expectation crushing any hope of escape. Every move risked alienating someone. The pressure was relentless. This is the creator's curse, to be loved for one thing and punished for wanting more. You build an audience on a promise, one you can't break but can't keep forever. Come here for this, the channel said. But what happens when this isn't enough? As an artist, you ache to grow, to change, to break free, but the pressure to stay the same is crushing, paralyzing. For trippp335, that pressure became a silent torment. Uploads slowed, the silence grew heavy, no longer mysterious, just empty. The creator's absence felt like abandonment. The community waited, and hope faded. The first cracks appeared, small at first but growing, unstoppable. The foundation that once felt unbreakable now trembled with uncertainty. The golden age was gone. In its place, a slow, painful decline, and the ache of what once was. The downfall of trippp335 wasn't a sudden disaster, it was a slow, excruciating unraveling. Each day the light faded a little more, hope slipping quietly into shadow. The view counts, once a source of pride, now plummeted, each drop a fresh sting. A new upload barely scraped 100,000 views in its first week, a number that once would have been cause for celebration, now felt like a defeat. For most, that would be a triumph. For trippp335, it was a bitter reminder of what had been lost. The numbers told a story of decay, and the creator could feel it in their bones. The algorithm, once a loyal ally, now turned its back, a silent, merciless judge. The channel's work was buried, lost in a sea of noise, invisible to new eyes. The style trippp335 had invented was now everywhere. So common, the original was drowned out by its own imitators. The channel became a casualty of its own influence, a pioneer lost in the crowd. The creator tried to fight back, brainstorming, rewriting, doubting every idea. But the silence only deepened. Uploads slowed to a trickle, each one feeling heavier than the last. Months slipped by, empty and unproductive, as the pressure to return grew unbearable. No updates, no posts, just a suffocating, echoing silence. The once vibrant community began to fracture, friends and fans quietly slipping away. Comment sections that once buzzed with life now sat abandoned, haunted by memories. The conversation moved elsewhere, the torch passed to new creators, new voices. The magic of trippp335 was always fragile, a feeling, a fleeting mood. When the creator stopped nurturing it, the magic withered, slipping through their fingers no matter how hard they tried to hold on. The empty spaces in the videos, once poetic, now felt hollow, echoes of something lost. Creative exhaustion set in, a weight that grew heavier with every attempt to recapture the spark. The new videos, when they came, felt forced. Desperate attempts to reignite a fire that had burned out. They were technically flawless, every detail meticulously crafted, but the soul was missing. The heart had gone out of them, replaced by a mechanical routine. It was as if the creator was painting by numbers, the passion drained away. The spark that once lit up every frame was gone, snuffed out by exhaustion and disappointment. Each new video felt like an obligation, not a joy, a burden carried out of duty, not love. And viewers could feel it, the ache, the emptiness, the struggle behind the screen. The connection that once felt electric now flickered, barely alive. One by one, viewers drifted away, unable to watch the magic fade. The bond that once held creator and audience together unraveled, thread by thread. Meanwhile, YouTube itself was changing, faster, louder, more relentless than ever. The world raced ahead, leaving trippp335 behind in the dust. Short form, high energy, always on content ruled the day. There was no room for slow, thoughtful artistry. trippp335's meditative style became a relic, a ghost from another time. It was a horse and buggy, left behind in a world obsessed with speed. The content was timeless, but the platform was not. The channel never found a way to evolve. It clung to the past, refusing to play the new game, even as the world moved on. In the end, trippp335 became a lonely, fading signal, broadcasting into the void, hoping someone was still listening. The slow decline was not just inevitable, it was heartbreaking. Why did the audience leave? What happens when the applause fades and the seats grow cold? It wasn't a sudden wave of hatred for the content. No, it was something far more painful. An absence, a slow drifting away. The reasons were tangled, complicated, and hard to face. The world became saturated. Everywhere you looked, new voices, new faces, new distractions. Once, trippp335 was a beacon, a single, glowing light in the darkness. If you craved that unique aesthetic, you had nowhere else to turn. But by 2024, the landscape was crowded. The channel's voice was drowned out by a chorus of imitators. The audience's attention was torn in 100 directions. Lo-fi nostalgia was everywhere, and trippp335 was no longer the only source. The channel was no longer rare. It was just another option, lost in the crowd. Just one among many, struggling to be seen. But the real ache came from within. A refusal to change, to evolve. The internet audience is restless, impatient. Their attention is fleeting. We are always searching for the next spark, the next thrill. trippp335 clung to the familiar, repeating the same formula, desperate to hold on to what once worked. For a time, that sameness was comforting, a warm blanket on a cold night. But comfort turned to monotony. The audience grew restless, and the creator felt it, a gnawing desperation to recapture their attention. Meanwhile, imitators didn't just copy, they innovated, pushing the genre forward. They mixed genres, collaborated, reached out to their communities. They grew, while trippp335 stood still, watching, hoping, desperate for a spark. In refusing to move, the channel slipped backward, powerless to stop the slide. The audience, hungry for growth, drifted toward creators who dared to change. And then, the silence. The creator's voice vanished, leaving only echoes. At first, the anonymity was thrilling. A secret identity, a puzzle to solve. It added to the allure, the mystique. But as the channel faded, that same silence became unbearable, a wound that wouldn't heal. The community felt abandoned, desperate for a sign, a word, any attempt to reconnect. There were no replies, no explanations, only a void where connection used to be. People reached out hoping for a response but found only emptiness. The bond was broken. The desperation to reconnect was met with silence. The audience became passive, watching from a distance, their hearts no longer in it. And then, one by one, they left, leaving only memories behind. In the end, the channel became a hollow echo of its former self, haunted by the ghosts of its own success. It kept playing the same notes, desperate for applause that would never return. Like a band clinging to its greatest hits, refusing to write a new song. The audience, weary and longing for something new, quietly turned away. They didn't leave in anger. They left with a quiet sadness, a sense of loss. They found new creators, new communities, and new hope elsewhere. And so, the story of trippp335 became a bittersweet memory, longing for what was and mourning what could have been. So what's the takeaway? What can we as creators learn from the incredible rise and quiet fall of trippp335? The first lesson is about the power of a unique voice. trippp335 succeeded because it was completely original. It didn't copy anyone, it didn't follow trends. It carved out its own niche with a singular, powerful vision. This is the most important lesson of all. Don't try to be like everyone else. Find the thing that only you can do, the story that only you can tell, and do it with passion. Authenticity is magnetic. People are drawn to it. Be yourself, even if yourself is a mysterious, anonymous ghost. The second lesson is about the danger of success. Success can be a trap. It can lock you into a formula. The thing that makes you popular can become a prison that prevents you from growing as an artist. The story of trippp335 teaches us that you must evolve. You have to find ways to reinvent yourself, to challenge your audience, and to keep things fresh. You can't be afraid to take risks and try new things, even if it means alienating some of your old fans. Standing still is the fastest way to become irrelevant. The goal isn't just to get to the top of the mountain, it's to find other mountains to climb. Another crucial lesson is about community. trippp335's creator built an amazing community, but then let it drift away. You can't take your audience for granted. They are not just numbers on a screen. They are people who have invested their time and emotion into your work. You have to nurture that relationship. You have to communicate even if it's just a little bit. Acknowledge their presence. Let them know you appreciate them. A strong community will stick with you through the highs and the lows, but only if they feel like they are part of the journey. Don't just broadcast, connect. Finally, the story of trippp335 is a reminder that everything on the internet is temporary. Platforms change, trends fade, audiences move on. You can't control the algorithm. All you can control is the work. So focus on making the best stuff you can make. Create things you are proud of. Build a body of work that will stand the test of time, even if the view counts don't. trippp335 may have faded, but its legacy remains. The channel influenced a generation of creators and defined an entire aesthetic. And years from now, someone will stumble upon an old video, and for a few minutes, the magic will be real again. That is a success that no algorithm can ever take away.